The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is easily one of the most pivotal games of my childhood and one of my favorite Zelda games of all time. When I was younger, I couldn't make it much further past the first cycle, but that didn't stop me from exploring as much as I could. You're probably asking what Majora's Mask has to do with the channel from a guy who makes Resident Evil and scary videos, and the answer is, well, it's creepy. In fact, it's so creepy, it inspired one of my favorite creepypastas from back in the day, and just all around represents a eerie feeling. A emptiness while full, while also calm as if trapped in time. Majora's Mask features a level of anguish and depth in its characters that most Zelda games have never explored. From the music composed to the environments filled with depths and fear, it's just eerie. Sure, the Zelda series explored darker themes later on with games like Twilight Princess, but Majora's Mask has its own feel to it. With all that being said, we're going to play through the classic game once again using a 60 FPS full screen mod, which is beautiful by the way, and explore some of the darkness and beauty created in the world of Termina. The game starts with the legendary hero of time, Link, moving through a foggy and creepy forest with his trusty steed Epona, looking for an old friend. Link is ambushed by a skull kid with a mysterious mask accompanied by his two fairy friends, but not quite the fairy Link is looking for. You see, the lore here is that this is the same Link that Zelda sent back in time to enjoy his life after the events of Ocarina of Time. But nobody remembers what Link went through or who even the young fairy kid is. His friend Navi has gone missing, so he decides that will be his next adventure. The Skull Kid and company manage to knock Link off Epona and ride off with Link's only friend, so we give chase. The environment is already much darker than what we're used to, but hey, we can do flips now. We chase the Skull Kid to the edge of a long drop and make the fall. Using the mysterious mask, Skull Kid morphs Link into a different version of himself permanently. It's dark and seemingly painful, but I always wondered if it was less of a physical pain and more of a mental pain. Imagine the emotions of the anguished fallen flooding into Link every time he transforms into a masked counterpart. Now as a Deku, we can continue on through the path, learning how to spin dash and utilize Deku flowers for short moments of flight. Take note of this lone Deku in the forest. He's important. Eventually we reach the base of the clock tower, where we encounter the legendary Happy Mask salesman and the oh-so-iconic "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" It is pretty terrible, but the Happy Mask salesman offers us a method to reverse our transformation if we can simply retrieve the mysterious Majora's Mask from the Skull Kid. With that, we enter the luminous clock town for the first time this playthrough. Clocktown is preparing for a legendary festival that will occur in 3 days. The only problem is there's a new face in the sky, quite literally. Skull Kid has cast a giant moon set to destroy Termina in a mere 3 days. Skull Kid is now holed up in the clock tower proper, but the door will only open on midnight on the final night, just before the moon crashes. Talk about some intense pressure for Link there. At least he's an adult in a kid's body, you know? So first things first, we need to find a way in the tower. Tattle, who is now our fairy acquaintance due to being separated from Skull Kid and fairy counterpart, is reluctantly helping us. Tattle tells us a great fairy resides in Clocktown, so we head to the north to find her shattered into pieces. She offers help if we can return the favor of putting her back together. We can find a stray fairy in Clocktown in 2 different locations depending on the time of day and head back to the fairy, allowing her recovery and gaining us a magic bar. This allows us to blow bubbles. Seriously. But we can put that to use pretty much instantly. See, we can't reach the door to the clock tower right now because a business scrub will refuse to let us use his Deku flower unless we trade him a Moon's Tear for the title deed. Thanks to our bubble blowing skills, we can impress some children. These are the Bombers, and they have a secret hideout with a path that leads to the local observatory. Seems like a good place to find a Moon's Tear. Once we pop the bubble, a quest is started that requires us to find all the Bomber children in order to gain entrance to their club with a secret code. They are all relatively easy to find and catch, and once we're done, we get the code. This code is specific to each playthrough, so we won't have to do this quest again. We make our way through the eerie dungeon that is the hideout and find ourselves at the observatory. A moon sphere is conveniently kept by the magic man who runs the observatory, but he's not willing to give that one up. We can use his telescope, though, to find the lovely Skull Kid dancing atop the clock tower before panning up to see the moon shed a tear just for us. We go outside to collect the prize and head back to the Deku Scrub to make the trade and simply wait outside the clock tower. There is a way to progress time a little faster here on the first cycle in the form of a creepy granny reading a bedtime story. But other than that, we're stuck waiting until midnight on the third day. Once the moon finally begins its final plunge, we head inside to confront Skull Kid. He's pretty evil right now, and we end up battling him. The gist is simple: shoot him with bubbles. I'm serious. This shocks him enough to drop the ocarina held in his hand. Our ocarina. We collect it and are blasted to a different realm where Zelda re-teaches us the coveted Song of Time. Each character transformation has a unique instrument, but the song still works the same, allowing us to teleport back to the first day. And therein lies the beauty of it. It's not actually 3 days, but as many days as we need with the Song of Time. We can reset as many times as we like by traveling through time at the cost of losing all our consumables and event progress. For example, if we play the Song of Time after recovering the Great Fairy in Clock Town, that is a task we would have to complete again on the first day. If we fail to deposit our money in the bank before turning back, we will see it fall away to the lands of time. We simply return to the front of the base of the clock tower after rewinding and return to the Happy Mask Salesman. He becomes a bit overexcited here and gives us a solution to our problem without us delivering. He teaches us the Song of Healing, a song dyed in sorrow and anguish in a way that can touch your soul to heal it. And it does. We return to our human form with our Deku form being put at rest in the form of a mask we can equip to transform anytime. Seriously, the Song of Healing may be my favorite Zelda song of all time. I mean, it's close. I think it's definitely my favorite ocarina song, in a close battle with the Song of Storms. Anyways, we can't deliver the mask, and the Happy Mask Salesman realizes that right about now. If we return to the Skull Kid now, we won't make any progress since his memory seems to transcend time and he will simply swat away any future bubble attacks. Which means it's time to hit the world of Termina officially. The guards wouldn't let a poor helpless Deku leave the gate, but they will let a 12-year-old with a sword. Forest of Woodfall is our first stop in the mainline objectives. Along the fields of Termina, we find a etching in a tree that sends Tattle reeling. The young fairy tells the story of how they met the Skull Kid, and how at one point he was very kind and fun to play with, until the mask came along. Allegedly, the mask seems to have changed the Skull Kid. We don't get much more lore than that though, so we continue on to Woodfall, which, as an area, in general, is riddled with enemies and poisonous water. Our goal now is to reach the Deku Palace, with the hopes of finding a path forward. We must first find a boat tourist company. This is going to be our ticket past the poisonous swamp and giant Octoroks blocking the path. As we continue through the forest, we can find a witch's hut, harboring some faces I assume Link would find very familiar. One of the famous witch sisters has gone missing, it seems, so we head into the endless maze of a forest guided by a friendly monkey, allowing us to find the sister. Unfortunately, we can't do anything yet, as finding her triggers her sister back at the shop to give us a potion that we can take back to heal her. With all the irony off our chest, the witches Kotake and Kume are grateful and less violent than previous games. We obtain a ticket to ride the boat and bring it back to hop and traverse through the swamp, taking us straight to the Deku Palace doors. Entering through the front door doesn't help us much here, as they're about to roast a monkey on a stake, and they won't listen to little old us. Instead, we have to evade the patrols in the outskirts of the palace through use of cunning, beans, and a few Deku flowers. This will get us inside, but this time inside the cage with the monkey, who, if we present our brass horns as a Deku, will teach us the Sonata of Awakening, a song required to raise the legendary Woodfall Temple. The monkey is on trial due to the fact the Deku King seems to think he's kidnapped the Deku Princess, but we're about to save her, don't worry. As we head onwards, we can find our favorite Kaepora along with another song, the Song of Soaring. Throughout the map of Termina, we can find owl statues that can be used as warp points with the Song of Soaring. They can also be used as a quick save method, as the only way to truly save in this game is to play the Song of Time. We traverse the swamps once more to find the pedestal marked with Deku writing and play the Sonata of Awakening to give rise to the Woodfall Temple. The Woodfall Temple, being the first of 4, is overall very simple, featuring a mini-boss that allows us the primary weapon for Link's adventure this time, the bow and arrow. After, we encounter a recurring mini-boss, as well as several stray fairies. Each dungeon has a scattered amount of 15 stray fairies that can be collected to restore that area of the game's Great Fairy, netting us some amazing rewards like double magic and magic armor of our hearts. I ended up collecting all the stray fairies for this playthrough. We end up at the boss door facing the mystic dance Adalwa. Adalwa attacks with his massive swords and dance moves. It seems the best way to attack is stun him with the bow and arrow and continue the assault until he falls. I know he's simple, but I've always had some troubles with Adalwa and his incessant yapping of his own name. After defeating him, we gain a heart container and do the most metal thing possible: steal his remains. After taking the remains, we are visited by ancient giants that teach us a song called the Oath to Order. This will be our main weapon against the Skull Kid later, but it's still incomplete and the giants are as cryptic as they come. Still, we get a hint to where we need to go next. The swamp is returned to life with the evil perks from the temple, and we can collect the Deku Princess to save our little monkey friend. One place of note I'd like to mention before moving on. After saving the Deku Princess, the Deku King offers us an award we can go and collect right then and there. We meet the Deku Butler, who runs a similar segment to Dampe in OOT. The important part to point out here is, if we are in our Deku form, he can't bear but see the resemblance in us and his missing son, even mentioning how it reminds him of us after the race. Just something to think about for later, you know. Anyways, we have a Termina to save and new equipment garnered, so we should move on. With Woodfall redeemed, it's important to note that just like our consumable and other tasks, anytime we use the Song of Time, the region we just rescued will simply revert to its evil incarnated state. However, we get to keep our key items, most importantly, the bow, which will allow us to head in a new direction in Termina. If we want to return to the area to its restored state, it's much easier now with a warp straight to the boss fight being placed at the beginning of the dungeon. This is important because some tasks and quests can only be completed with respective areas remised of evil, so keep that in mind for later. Back to exploring Termina, there's an awfully cold side of town that is blocked by large snow boulders. But fortunately for us, our bow is the perfect piece of equipment to shoot at the hanging icicles, causing them to fall and destroy the snowy boulders and open the snowy path. This is Snow Point, the next main area of the game and the home of the Gorons. But if you know Gorons from previous games, they typically enjoy a much warmer environment than we have going on here. The first goal is simply to traverse through the areas filled with ice and snow until we come across Goron Village. We can't enter the Goron Village proper quite yet, but we can head to a cliff on the far side of town to encounter a mysterious floating shadow, as well as Kaepora once again. The owl has us trust our instincts and follow his feathers along what seems to be invisible platforms. On the other end is a cave with a chest harboring the Lens of Truth, an item that while consuming magic allows us to see the unseen. After collecting it, we can learn a whole lot more about that shadow outside and how those platforms were in fact invisible. We meet Darmani, a pivotal member of the Goron clan who is, well, dead and under duress as a floating soul trapped in some sort of purgatory. The ghostly Goron requests that we follow him back through the Snowpoint Mountains until we find a hidden ladder leading up to a hot spring, well, that can only be seen with the Lens of Truth. We climb, and at the top there's no water, but there is a Darmani ghost at his grave begging for some sort of reprieve. We play the Song of Healing for the wandering ghost and put his soul at ease while simultaneously gaining our next transformation mask, the Goron mask. Goron Link can punch stronger than Paxao Talamanus and also roll for improved movement speed. Well, maybe not stronger than Pax, but you know. Along with magic, the roll can turn into a spiky roll that will help us quite a bit in the future. Goron Link also has a ground pound and is generally the solution when it comes to pushing or pulling heavy things. We put the mask to use instantly and move Darmani's grave to uncover the hot spring well. It's very important for us to grab some hot spring water and head back to Goron Village. The entrance still isn't open, but that's because only a Goron can open it by standing atop the entrance and ground pounding. Once inside, there's someone that's obviously very upset. The young Goron master seems to want his grandpa, and we know just where to find him. Fortunately, he's not dead, but hiding in a frozen stupor just outside the village. We use the hot spring water to de-thaw the old Goron, and he attempts to teach us the old Goron's lullaby, but he can't seem to remember all of it. With half the song, we can play it in front of the young Goron to trigger his memory and have him sing the rest for us, officially calming him down while also netting us the Goron's lullaby, the final item needed to enter the Snowpoint Temple. With a new transformation, the Lens of Truth, and Goron lullaby in tote, it's time to use our magic rolling skills to scale the further part of Snowpoint Mountain to reach its peak. At the peak, there's a giant Goron with extremely strong breath that we must use the Goron's lullaby to put to sleep and maybe murder? I'm sure he's fine. The final scale is still not easy without the Goron. We traverse the slim pathways and snowy boulder-ridden slopes, finally reach the peak of Snowpoint and enter the temple. The Snowpoint Temple is a vertical style dungeon which can always have the potential to be a headache. But I've done this a few times, so usually I only get lost once or twice these days. The primary gain from the Snowpoint Temple is the fire arrows. After defeating the mini-boss, we net our first of 3 elemental arrows that will be a recurring theme and main item for Link in his adventure. Given the snow snowy nature of the area, the fire arrows are extremely helpful for traversing the dungeon. Once at the boss, we're faced with a frozen mechanical monster of a beast known as Goat. Once we use the fire arrows, we de-thaw it and the fight begins. This is the first instance where a transformation mask really makes a difference in a fight. I mean, there's a cool speedrun strat to fight Goat with just the bow and arrow, but I honestly just like to roll around. It's not too difficult, but it is unique enough to be interesting, and after defeating the beast with our spiky exterior, we gain yet another set of remains. The ancient giants visit us once again and point us in our next direction, which will be the coast known as Great Bay. Snowpoint finally enters a springtime era after the enemy is defeated, and usually I'm trying to do about 15 things in a 3-day cycle at this point, but I always make sure to return to the Goron village and meet the giant Goron with the keg powder item before resetting. If we use the keg powder to blow a boulder blocking the Goron racetrack, we can return to the Goron and he will start selling the keg powders in Clocktown, no matter if our timer resets. This is a good double setup for us. Anyways, as we can enter the racetrack to gain a new bottle and gold dust for the coveted gilded sword, depending on the time of day that you're on, before heading to the darkest ocean terminal holes. Our trip to the third main area of Majora's Mask starts with an exploration of Termina. As we mentioned before, we can now buy powder kegs from the Goron in the bomb shop in Clocktown. We grab one and head towards Romani Ranch in the daytime of the first day. Usually, this would be impassable until the third day due to a massive boulder blocking the path a lone worker is chipping away at. But with our powder keg in hand, we can blow the boulder to bits and enter the ranch much earlier. Inside the gates, we can find our trusty steed Epona locked behind a gate and meet the young Malon. Malon has what we want here, and that's Epona's song. But before she teaches it to us, we need to allow her to recruit us for a special mission to protect the ranch on the first night. To an almost unexplainable way, the ranch is attacked by literal aliens, and according to Malon, this happens consistently. The defense of the ranch is trivial when using the inverted Song of Time to slow down the enemies. Once the ranch is protected and the sun rises, we can interact with Malon to learn Epona's song and regain our friend once again. You can also continue this questline through the following days for a mask and a very special place in an adult's chest, but for this video, we will stay focused on the main objective. Now that we have Epona, we can head to the sandy part of Termina Field and jump over the gate, blocking the way to the Great Bay area. I've always thought that Great Bay really harnessed that eerie openness feeling. The wind in the air combined with emptiness of the land above the ocean is an interesting combo. The first thing we explore is the water, and well, there's a dying guy in there. There's a lot of pain and suffering happening before Link's very eyes in Termina. This is Mikau, a Zoro who went to save the stolen Zoro eggs of fellow band member Lulu from the pirate's fortress. He didn't have much luck, so we push him to the shore and watch him painfully walk up before playing the Song of Healing for him, allowing him to shred his guitar one last time before turning into the Zora mask, our next transformation mask. Zora Link can use his fins as boomerangs as well as swim fluidly through the water with an energy field type attack allowed while in possession of magic. Zora Link is extremely versatile, and I always had fun just swimming around and practicing jumping out of the water perfectly, even now. Our first stop here doesn't have to be Zora's domain or even the lab. The primary goal to proceed is to enter the pirate's fortress to obtain 7 Zora eggs that must be returned to the Marine Research Lab. Inside the pirate's fortress, we can use the stone mask, which we got from Invisible and Almost Dead Guy, by the way, to become unnoticeable from certain distances and easily traverse through the main areas. After brutally dropping a nest of hornets on a room full of ladies, we gain the hook shot. Another important thing to grab here is a photo of the Gerudo pirates, as we will need it later. If you're wondering where we got the Picto Box in the first place, well, it's in Woodfall, at the boating experience. With the picture in tote, we can enter a cabin on the shore and speak to an OnlyFans user who takes the photo. In return, we receive his golden seahorse. This seahorse is our ticket through the mysterious waters and the final Zora eggs not located in the pirate fortress. After collecting all 7 eggs, we drop them in the tank in the lab in order for them to magically hatch and align in the form of the New Wave Bossa Nova, the next ocarina song needed to locate the Great Bay Temple. We head to the backside of Zora's domain and play the song to summon a massive turtle that will be our companion in reaching the temple. I always loved this guy and this stage in Melee, honestly. We hookshot onto the ancient turtle's back and off we go into this game's water temple. Notoriously, water-themed temples are convoluted and easy to get lost in, and honestly, I still get lost in this one to this day. We need to control the flow of water to meet our destinations and eventually gain the ice arrows, the second to last elemental advantage Link will gain. After entering the boss room, we take a long fall to the arena and are faced with Georg. a massive fish that spits smaller fish at you. Generally, you can shoot an arrow at him as normal Link or boomerangs as Zora Link to stagger the beast and do most of your damage with the magic energy from Zora Link in the water. After the boss falls and flops to oblivion, we add another face to our collection like Geen and are met with the giants once more. Once again, they remain cryptic, but they lead us in the direction of the final main area of the game, Ikana Canyon. The world of Great Bay doesn't change much after beating Georg. The storms affecting the seas fade away, and that's about it. With a new elemental arrow in tote as well as a hookshot, we still need one more item before being able to progress through the next stony main path. If we approach the Luigi brothers near the Romani Ranch proper, we can challenge them to a horseback race since we have Epona now. If we beat them enough times, they'll get mad of course, but still cough up the Garo mask, a mask of ancient assassin-like warriors. We can take this mask through Termina and up the stone-filled mountain towards a large tower in the distance. A Garo fishing for souls recognizes our mask and allows us passage upwards. We battle through hostile Goron-like enemies and find ourselves in the commonly haunted Ikana Canyon. Ikana is experiencing a severe drought, and we can do something about that. If we enter the cave towards the back of the village, we can encounter a Meister ghost and learn the beautiful ocarina song, the Song of Storms. Playing the song will cause water to flow through Ikana once again and return it to somewhat of a life. More importantly, a young lady will run out of her house at the awe. We can use the stone mask or simply sneak behind her to enter the home and head downstairs to find her father, laden with the curse of the Gibdo. Fortunately, we have just the tune to help out with this kind of thing. After playing the Song of Healing, the Gibdo mask becomes ours, and we can head to our next main task with a little preparation. We needed the Gibdo mask to be able to communicate with them, and we're going to do that in the ever-loved bottom of a well. Several bottles are helpful in this mini-dungeon. Most items needed to trade with the cryptic Gibdo are already inside the well, so we only need a little preparation. At the end of the maze, we can collect the mirror shield, but unlike previous versions, this one is filled with souls in agony. I mean, look at this thing. It's just creepy, huh? But I love it. What can I say? We still aren't quite ready to enter the next dungeon. We still have to face another mini-dungeon in the form of Ikana Castle with our newfound mirror shield. The ending harbors a boss fight featuring King Egos du Ikana and his henchmen. We shoot a fire arrow at the curtains to reveal the sunlight to our favor and use our mirror shield to burn the henchmen to dust. The same gist is utilized to fight the king. Once defeated, now left a mere floating head, King Ikana teaches us the ocarina song that will allow us to scale the stone tower, the Elegy of Emptiness. There's something so insanely beautiful about this song. Oh, and we meet Ben again, finally. I swear, ever since that creepypasta, I keep an extra close eye on Ben, no matter what the playthrough. I still remember. With all required items, we can head to scale the massive stone tower using a combination of the Elegy of Emptiness and every transformation mask we've collected up to this point. And a lot of hookshot, I guess. At the top, we're faced with the Stone Tower Temple, the final main temple of the game. Easily the best temple theme in this game, I'm telling you, easily. Stone Tower Temple is unique because we're going to have to flip the dungeon at some point to complete it. We face a King Garo and the Grim Reaper, I guess. We gain the elemental arrow of last, the light arrows. While not as strong as other renditions of the light arrows, we can still use them to flip the stone tower on its heels and attack it from the upside down. Just before the boss, we gain another key item known as the Giant's Mask. Entering the boss fight, we're faced with Twin Mold, two snake-like beasts in a massive arena that seems almost impossible to fight. Fortunately, we just got a new toy, and it only works in this room. I gotta say, I've always been particularly bad at this boss fight because I'm just so bad at magic management, but hey, we get to be a giant, and that's cool. After shriveling the worms up, we collect a final set of remains and encounter the giants once more. With all the remains in hand, we're ready to face the Skull Kid in the tower once again. Before we enter, I'd like to shortly talk about the side quests and mask of the game. This game, having only 4 main dungeons, heavily relies on the side content, and in a lot of ways this game shines because of that. There are 30 masks to collect in total, and due to some time constraints, I didn't collect them all this playthrough. For the first time, actually, but the reward for doing so is insanely cool, and if you haven't done it, you should give it a try. Quests like cafes are challenging and fun to play through, while some masks are as simple as saving a traveling old lady from the thief Sakon. It's just amazing how long ago this game came out and how intricate each decision you make can affect the following days in your 3-day cycle. Anyways, I'm done gushing, let's get to that final fight. This section is labeled the final cycle, but truthfully, you can just go straight into the fight from the cycle you're in. I see it as a final cycle in a symbolic way. Every cycle before the final fight is the last one, no matter how many you decide to take while achieving that 100% goal, or just exploring before fighting. With all the remains in hand, we wait outside the clock tower with the Song of Double Time, and as the clock strikes midnight, the festival begins, and so does the final encounter. We have a bit of deja vu when encountering Skull Kid again. None of the equipment we have collected so far will work on the Fiend, but one particular song will, the Oath to Order. Now that all the ancient giants are free, playing the song will summon them to catch and hold the moon, protecting Termina for just a bit longer while the Majora's Mask itself separates from the Skull Kid and flies up into the moon. We follow, entering the Windows 97 screensaver that is the moon. In all seriousness, this being the final area, and inside the moon is beautiful. There are several children scattered around the tree in the center, each harboring a mask of remains from previous boss fights, and the main Majora's Mask in the center. If you collect all the masks, you can return them to these children to collect some final heart containers and the epic Fierce Deity transformation mask, making the final boss fight and all boss fights trivial. We interact with Majora and the final boss begins. The fight with Majora has several stages with several different strategies. Some versions of Majora represent other previous boss fights like Adalwa, while others involve the remains of his fallen comrades aiding in his attack. The final version of Majora is kinda scary, to put frankly. It almost resembles a demon sent from hell to cause chaos in the world. After defeating Majora, Termina will finally be saved, and the Happy Mask Salesman will get his mask back. But it doesn't seem so evil now. The Skull Kid is reunited with his fairy friends, and Link isn't any further in his quest than he was before. A slave to time, he moves on. Thank you all so much for watching. I know the video doc / other thing is a new concept to me in this channel, but I've always wanted to make something about Majora's Mask and just Zelda in general. If you like these, let me know in the comments. I'd like to explore the horror elements of the Earth Temple from Wind Waker one day, or even other games like Ocarina of Time. I've always wanted to do a stick-only challenge run of Tears of the Kingdom, but that's totally different. Maybe one day, you know. If you enjoyed being here, please like and subscribe, and if you do the Twitch thing, you can follow me there too. I'd appreciate it. Anyways, that's all. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, follow me everywhere. Thanks, bye.